word of the day. It's size.
Size.
Because you asked a question about the perceived size issue with this team and whether they thought it was worth addressing in this draft.
Or at least avoiding certain because really what I'm going back to is the conversation we had with Corey Proman last week, where Corey was talking about how, if James Higgins in particular is available at 6, the Flyers took Matvei Michkov in 2023 with the 7th overall pick. He's under 6 foot. They took Zhetlutchenko last year. He's under 6 foot. They signed Travis Konechny for nearly a decade. He's under 6 foot. These are your top of the lineup guys, or at least they're projecting Zhetlutchenko to be a top of the lineup guy. And as Corey said, it's pretty rare for teams to be taking a bunch of sub 6 foot forwards in a row in round 1 to be the core of your team. Because look, Michkov is clearly already part of the core. Luchenko, they're hoping, will be. And this guy who they're taking at 6, you wouldn't be taking a guy at 6 if you didn't think he had the potential to be a core guy. So Corey questioned whether they would be willing to have that many core guys in their forward core be sub 6 foot, and if that concerned them. So I wanted to make sure I got Danny on the record to ask him if that was something and try to, obviously he's going to hedge, he's going to, dodge and weave, but I wanted to see what the answer would be. I wanted to see if he seemed like he was dodging or if he was willing to take make a real stand there. And I think he more leaned on the latter. I think he kind of took a bit of a stand there.
Yeah. And even like when we discuss Brady Martin, yeah, he plays big, but he's 6 foot 187. He is basically average.
He's not huge.
He is basically average. He's not bigger than like most of, he's right around, I think is 6 foot 6'1", around 200 is the average. Whether or not you include goalies, the height changes a little, but
Briere, his response,
the compete level, like size, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But maybe not as important as like, is he relentless? What is his compete level? Like that sort of thing, just as, if not more important than size.
Yes, Danny's answer, his initial answer was compete level, hockey IQ.
Yeah.
Those are two things that they probably value more than size. Talked a little bit about how he believes that, guys like Hathaway, Delorier, Sealer can protect the smaller guys. But the money quote was at the end where he goes, we're aware of the concerns about not being too small up front. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't sway us too much. Look, he's obviously giving himself a potential out here. But that was pretty forceful in that, look, is it a factor? Sure, it's a factor because like a guy being smaller is a negative. But it's not like we're going to cross James Higgins off our board just because he's sub 6 foot. I feel pretty confident. If they don't take James Higgins, maybe part of it is that he's small. But it's that he's small, and because he's small, they're worried that he won't be that effective.
His playing
style.
Not
because they're terrified to have a forward core with James Higgins, Matvei Michkov, Travis Konechny, and Zhetlutchenko at the top 5 years down the line.
The thing I took away from it is because we have talked, like, especially with, but you've done it with Flahr as well. Like, their focus on size seems primarily on the blue line, and they even said it was a factor last year
for the
with Zeev, and it's like we have Andre, we have York. York's like average, he's like 6 foot 200, but he's not. He doesn't play huge, and he's not Rasmus Ristolainen. He's just average-ish. Like we have Drysdale, of course. So like, how much redundancy do we want in our core, especially of these youngish guys? Right. The forwards, it seems, it's more about playing style. Like Travis Konechny, small. Does he play small? Not really, so it's not a concern to them.
It's fair.
Like Matvei Michkov, small, but we saw he's not backing down from anyone. He lives in the dirty areas. Like his favorite spot is behind or next to the net. It's not as if he's purely a perimeter player. So like maybe they see defense and forwards one way, and when you look at the board, it's a foregone conclusion they're taking a forward. That was my whole takeaway from that part of the conversation.
They're definitely taking a forward because, and Flahr at one point did say, maybe there's a defenseman, but it does seem like this is going to be a forward because Schaefer they love, but he's going to be gone at 1. So, in some weird scenario, maybe he goes at 2, but he's not going past 2. Sure. So they're not even worried about Schaefer. It's like, he's awesome. Don't worry about him. Ain't going to see him no more. But it does seem to me that you're right, that the the size thing for them is more important on defense than it is for them up front, which intuitively makes sense given who the general manager of the team is. You know, Danny Briere probably and it goes both ways. As a small forward, he probably was like, yeah, it was real annoying playing against teams where all the defensemen were huge. It was tougher for me, but also I was a small forward and I, kicked tons of butt out there for years and years. Maybe not that big of a deal as long as you have the compete, as long as you have the hockey IQ, both of which he had.
It's like, I did lead the 2010 playoffs in scoring, and like they had Duncan Keith over there. Just saying, it doesn't always come down to size, and that's where I think we get into the compete level conversation, and that is our word of the day, brought to you by Art of Words.
One thing about before we get into the trading idea, this is the one thing that still gives me pause. And I know, there's going to be a lot of chatter about Brady Martin. I suspect he's probably one of those guys that they were talking about. They obviously took him out to dinner. He has that, he plays like a flyer. But the one thing that gives me pause about him being the guy is their emphasis on hockey IQ. I don't think, and maybe they differ from my opinion, but I don't think hockey IQ is a huge strength of his. And they tend to love the hockey IQ guys. Like Michkov's offensive IQ is through the roof. Luchenko's defensive and neutral zone IQ is through the roof. They like the high hockey IQ guys. And I don't really see Brady Martin as a high hockey IQ guy. He's a high compete guy to be sure. But hockey IQ, I don't know.
That's one of the reasons you said when you look at him, you're like, okay, he plays center, but is he an NHL center? I don't know. That's not... It's usually your IQ guys that stick at that position, especially when you're talking about at 6, outside possibility, but we're hoping for a 1C. We're hoping one of these guys develops into that. This is likely to be the highest we're going to draft over the next several years. So you want to come away with that biggest need. Is he going to be that? Questionable.
Like my gut, and I know you are in the I'm just assuming they're taking Brady Martin. Like my gut feel is that if they don't take one of the 6, it would be Jake O'Brien.
Okay.
Because I just think he fits more with what they tend to like in guys. And they have the Jay McKee connection, which they tend to like having extra information about guys. And he does have a little bit extra size and a lot of developmental runway. He's young for the draft year, which they obviously like with Luchenko. I just have a gut feel that if it's not one of those 6, that it's more likely to be O'Brien than Martin. Maybe I'm totally off, but I just have a gut feel it's more likely to be O'Brien than Martin.
Maybe, and that would be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I do wonder if it's and again, this is just me saying I think they're taking Brady Martin because I can only hear he's a flyer so many times before I start to believe it too. Mm-hmm.
Like we talked about,
and I think Button had he had him at 6.
Yeah,
still.
But why do I get the sense people on our Discord do this too? Why do you look at Craig Button's list and say he's at 6? That's it's not a mock draft. That's a ranking.
Yeah,
he's not picking who the teams are going to pick. He's ranking the guys. People on our Discord do that too. Why?
I think it's an informed ranking. That's why.
I don't know. But there's a difference between a mock draft and a ranking.
There is.
A ranking is how he ranks the guys. A mock draft is who he thinks the teams are going to take. If he was doing a mock draft and had Brady Martin of the Flyers, that would be one thing, which he did right after the lottery. But a ranking, I have James Hagen's 3rd. In no way, shape, or form do I think James Hagen's is getting taken 3rd.
Doesn't seem like it.